Hi, I'm Christy Rose, and I play piano with the Colorado Conservatory for the Jazz Arts. I am here interviewing Miss Joy Cayler. She's had an illustrious career with jazz and education, especially in Denver. And so the first question is, how old were you when you started leading your own band?
16.
And then what were some of the types of tunes that you played with this first band?
Glenn Miller tunes. Ooh, In the Mood. Do you know the Glenn Miller tunes?
Some of them.
Well, you can probably tell them better than I can. Glenn Miller, Tuxedo Junction, In the Mood, all of them. I had practically all the tunes in my library because I loved Glenn Miller. I thought he was great.
And then what was, with your first gig, how did that go?
Well, I was at a music store looking for music, and the man said, he said, I was looking for band music too, and he said, do you have a band? And I said, yes. And he said, well, would you like, I asked, he said, would you like to play a job? I said, yes. Never knowing what it was, so it was at the Cootie Club. There was a place downtown called the Cootie Club. And I didn't know what it was, except that it was a club, but they were German dancers. And they wanted German polkas all the time. We had one polka in the book, and we were supposed to play 4 hours.
Wow.
I think, we played, I don't know how many times we played the Beer Barrel Polka. And then he came up to the stand again and he said, could by any chance you play another polka? And I said, can we play the Beer Barrel Polka again? And he said, yeah, well, they didn't dance to all of this other stuff. And I said, well, how are we doing? He said, well, fine, I think you girls need a little more experience, but okay. So I knew then that we weren't doing too well. Even though we played the Beer Barrel Polka, I don't know how many times. That's all we had. So that was our first dance job. And then we went around more and more jobs all the time.
Joy, can you tell us about some of the challenges of being a female band leader during the 40s and 50s?
Well, it was mostly in the 40s that happened. It also happened in the 50s, but it was rather odd for someone to have an all-girl band.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of other band leaders like Ina Ray Hutton and so forth, where you had most of the problems with male musicians. And they would run into you or wherever they were playing and so forth. Oh, we're all girls, ha, 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 or and so forth. But once we started playing, I had a wonderful arranger that really wrote nice things and great things, Stan Canton-Tyre. And once the band started playing, they kind of sat down and looked around, and I really thought, you'll like us before we really quit. And it's true. They didn't have enough girl bands around that played, and it was supposed to be, from what the ones they may have heard, it wasn't that good. So when they ran into someone that, like Dale arranged and so forth, we knew what we were doing, and they were well rehearsed and well prepared, too. They didn't,
professionals.
Especially, they didn't act up. They do if they acted up or something, they're going to be out. I won't be playing with the band anymore, so but Lionel Hampton liked the band, Tommy Dorsey liked the band, a lot of the guys, big band leaders, they thought it was great. And then you had these guys that weren't so hot, but right away they're over trying to date the gals, so.
Yeah. Tell us about the time in Quincy, Illinois with the radio broadcast.
Well, Quincy, Illinois, they had a radio broadcast. And I don't think we had ever done a broadcast, and I thought, how am I going to announce the tunes that we're playing and talk to the people and put the horn in my mouth and play the trumpet. Well, let's see. That's when I announced, I think, our next number is going to be In the Nude. Because we used to sing it, the band did. In the Nude, just for fun. But it just slipped out of my mouth on a broadcast. Is that when they took us off? Yeah. It was an exciting night. You learned a lot in no time.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about your connection to Lionel Hampton?
Well, I'll have to start with the drummer I had from California first. I was advertising for a drummer, and she called from California, so she joined the band. But I said, well, who have you been playing with? She says, well, I sat in at Lionel Hampton's band and playing Gumdrops or something. What was the tune? And I thought, is she kidding me or something? And I didn't know Lionel at the time. And so I said, well, if you did that, come on in. And I sent for her, and she came into Kansas City, I think we were playing at the time. And I said, I'll meet you in the train station. And she said, is that where the Indians are? I'm thinking of Indians. Anyway, where did you play with Lionel Hampton? She says, well, at the theater and so forth. Well, I thought, we're all together now, just find out how she plays. I didn't know. And she met Lionel Hampton's by, I have to start with Ludi. She sat in with Lionel Hampton, and she did a wonderful job, I guess. Well, when she came in with the band, and I hired her, I said, come on. She didn't know how to read music. So when I said, what? She says, I don't know how to read music, but she could read anything by ear. I mean, she was just a natural. And one time, I forget how we did meet it. Oh, we went backstage on this other job, and Lionel was upstairs in the dressing room. And I saw these legs out of the dressing room, and I said, is he around? He says, yeah, here I am. He was a great guy. And so he said, come on, if you would like to come in, to the booking office. I'll be there, and anything you want, let me know to help the girls and this and that and so forth. He was a wonderful guy. And a nice man, too. A nice man. He said, what? This is Lionel Hampton, and so forth. He had an accent. And he says, I have a couple of my friends here, and you're mistreating my friends that are with the union, trying to do something with this union anyway. And he says, I want you to help us out. And he said, Joy Cayler and her all-girl band, and they must have known it, whoever he was talking to in Denver. But any time Lionel was going to be in town, he would call me. And so I'd try to Mom would make dinner for him and Dad and so forth. So he just really became a good friend, or if I wanted anything out of the booking office in New York, Lionel, yeah.
Were you ever, concerned because you were on the USO tours of, your safety with all the warfare going on?
Oh, well, this was an unscheduled flight, but we went on to China, and they were very nice, because when we got out of the airplane, the guy said, who the hell are you? Well, doesn't sure know that we're having a war down here? That was the USO headquarters. And I says, I don't know, but we're going ahead. But boy, they had the planes out, and had the machine guns. They were hiding in their holes that they stayed
Rice
in.
paddies or something.
Yeah. And then I thought, boy, we're into trouble here, you know. But the trucks that we were in, they kept going and going fast, just so to keep our heads down and this and that and so forth. But at least we went to China. It got more exciting as we went ahead. I didn't know we were in a war. Not that kind of a war. As Second World War was over. Well, here was another one in China. And Colonel Doyle had asked me, he said, where do you want to go? I said, China. Okay. And we got to China. There were times when I wondered if we should be there, but we were, and we had a good time, in a way.
It's Denver.
Never ifs, Denver airs, yeah.
Tell us more about those groups. What kind of music did they play?
They played nothing. Well, now, don't take that. Bill Thompson got a hold of me, and he says, I understand so and so and so, and would you be interested in maybe taking some of our beginning classes? And I said, what? And so he said, well, he didn't tell me exactly what it was, but he didn't know what I had done. And I walked into this place, he said, here's the beginning group. And there was, I don't know how many kids in there, about a good 40 kids. Never had played trumpet before. Never had them up to their mouths, so they knew what buzzing was. So that's how I started, and I thought, gee whiz. The next week when we rehearsed, then here comes a few trombones, and he knew what he was doing. And anyway, it's a long story. And finally we moved downstairs because we were beginning to get so many kids in there. And then the next thing, anyway, to make a long story short, trombones, trumpets, even a tuba. What was I going to do with a tuba? And so I started with the kid band there, and finally developed them into dance bands.
Oh, wow. What advice do you have for young people who have a passion for playing music?
Do what your heart tells you to do, and if you like it. And if you like it, you love it. And then it's not work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's not work. It's just having a good time, enjoying what you're doing, and eventually probably make a few dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make a few dollars if you work it right.
Yeah.
So
just follow your heart, pretty much.
That's right. And there's nothing like it.
Mm-hmm.
You won't quit. You won't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
Well, at least I didn't. It wasn't until I got with Mabel Like, who was, well, the queen of the trumpets then anyway. She was known as the Sousa girl.
Mm-hmm.
She and her husband played with John Philip Sousa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she had riding. She only lived a couple of blocks from me on South University, and I'd go up there for lessons, and she got me going right. I told her, I said, I'm here because I can't read music. She said, well, how long you played? I said, about 3 or 4 years. She says, I'll take care of that. And she did. Had that baton, So, and if you love what you're doing, nothing can stop you. It isn't like work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're anxious. And like with the kids that I had, that Paul was in, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad to know that Paul is carrying on with youth groups. He was a wonderful guy, and so was his dad when they were helping me along with a youth group a long, long, long time ago. And as long as they have people like Paul remain around, and mothers and fathers and kids that are interested in doing something worthwhile and enjoying it for the rest of your life, hang on to Paul. He'll do it for you.